Welcome to Moto State Podcast, where we talk about motorcycles, life, and everything in between.
And then what I just chopped off, I mean, it was almost like nipple length.
Right.
So I had some long hair.
Well, the only reason why I ask is that I get that. So I have naturally curly hair, and I've never grown out my hair. Yeah, in my entire life, never had. And so I was like 48 years old, and I have two daughters, and my oldest daughter is she's really short, but she's got this lion's mane of curly hair, and it's really long. And she's like, Daddy, you have the same hair as me. You need to grow it out. I'm like, I've never grown it out. It'll just be a giant afro. And she goes, trust me, it won't. It'll be like this long curly hair. So I was like, fine. So on a complete dare from my daughters, I started growing out my hair. And I did the same thing you did, kind of had a career change. And I recently cut it. And it was like, the barber told me, because mine is just off my neck now, so it's a little bit longer. But 14 inches of hair is what they cut off me.
Oh my
gosh. I had grown, it was naturally curly, so it was like this, right? So I'm
so
suffering.
Out of the shower, you might be getting like belly button length, man.
Yeah, it was middle of my back for sure. When it was wet. Yeah. So
people don't understand. So I feel like women, they're just born understanding the upkeep of long, beautiful hair.
Yeah.
Men don't understand how much work it is.
Yeah.
See? Luke has no idea. That's
right.
what
I'm just worried about sunburn, you know?
All that long curly hair. It was I'm like, so I just recently still am in the process of moving. So like you can't really see it, but behind me I'm in this. It was actually, I'm like kind of downtown Dallas now. Everybody's going to know exactly where I live after I say this because it's really easy to find it. But hey, just got motorcycles on my patio in the garage. I got 4 of them in my apartment. And then 2 at the old shop that I still need to bring over. But so it's like the old 7-Up distribution warehouse.
Okay.
And it's just this old industrial building that I guess like 30 years ago had a fire. Somebody bought it and turned it into apartments. There's
That's
a
cool.
turtle pond outside my door. That's turtles out there. It's wild, but yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm still finding my long hair as I'm moving.
Oh, like
going
everywhere.
Through different things.
It's
like haunting me. I miss it, but I don't because it is a lot of work. Like it really is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're talking about upkeep. You know, one of the things that I made the giant mistake of is after it got like long last summer, I remember I would ride and just put my helmet on. And I was like, oh, yeah. So,
dude.
I went on I went on like a road trip and I was like, oh, my hair looks so dope. Just like shooting out the back of my helmet. And then I got there at the end of the night and I like went and took a shower and I was like, oh my God, what the hell did I just do? I mean, it was like
you're like
just
in a chokehold.
Oh yeah, it was just a rat's nest all balled up, and
it's so bad.
Yeah, I like texted my daughter. I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, you need to use like a half a bottle of conditioner and bring the brush in the shower and like brush it. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like,
I had never brushed my hair until like 2 years ago. and
this episode of Moto State Podcast this episode is brought to you by Head and Shoulders. And,
I text her back. I go, I'm a 50-year-old father of 2 combing my hair in the shower right now. You know, like yeah. So after that, so then, you know, I'm the guy that like my wife's like, do you need anything from Walmart? I'm like, hair ties. I need hair ties. Like all of a sudden you become the guy wearing hair ties on your wrist all the time.
I've got hair ties for my beard when I ride.
See,
because you spend all day on the bike.
End,
yeah,
you know?
It all moves south. It all moves south. Because there's nothing worse than 8 hours on the bike and you're just eating your own hair the whole time. It's awful. Nobody likes it.
It all moves south.
So
what you're saying is you have a giant hairy back, is what you're saying?
No, that thing's smooth, man. growing hair on my head is not my strong suit, but I got a little bit on my face. That's all. So, well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we are we besides hair tips from a bunch of middle-aged white guys, we are giving out. No, we're joined by Charlie Condit, a good buddy of mine, and got to meet last year at Mama Tried, and I've heard his story a little bit at Mama Tried, and actually on some other podcasts, and wanted real bad to have him on the show because it is a amazing story, a crazy story of wearing a whole lot of different hats and a cool journey that's gone from the oil fields to riding motorcycles to racing motorcycles. And that's a 100,000 foot view of it. But Charlie, thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, Luke, thank you so much, man. Like, you know, it really blows my mind that I even get invited to go on podcasts. I'm like, I'm just a dude, like, and I just love motorcycles. Like, I just love two wheels. I've been so blessed, like, just with the opportunities that I've had, and just, I mean, some of that's just come from, like you're saying, from working in the oil field. And you know, I was married, and there were no kids that came from that, and I think my path would have been very different. You know, if I was Papa Charlie instead of Charlie Davidson, definitely would have. I don't think I'd be sitting alone in an apartment with like 7 or 8 motorcycles. I've lost count. So,
Sure.
but yeah.
Well, so let's back up all the way. Like, what got motorcycling in your blood and became a passion for you? How did that start?
It's really crazy because, like, I've got a lot of friends. You know, even like I was hanging out. I swapped some tires. I got my tire machine. I bought a tire machine for $450. It was the best $450 I have ever spent.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I threw some new tires on. Like, Cody Gilmore races in BRL. He's like an old supercross racer. Like, good buddy of mine, lives on the north side of Dallas, and his dad is like OG, like out in Iowa, like well-known bike builder, like old just chopper dude.
Okay.
Like, Cody's just been like going to Sturgis his whole life. I don't have any of that. You know, like I do have motorcycles in my blood. Like, everybody on my dad's side of the family, everybody at some point rode motorcycles. My grandpa had an old Indian. He was on like 1948 Indian Chief.
Oh, wow.
My uncle, my aunt, and my dad all rode Hondas. I actually inherited my aunt's old 72 Honda CB 175. Like, that's on the list of bikes to restore. But
sure,
that bike, it was always in my grandparents' garage, and I was just some little kid. I mean, every time we went to my grandparents, my dad grew up outside Cleveland, and so every time I went to Ohio, I'd go in the garage, and like I would just stand there. I would just stare at this thing. I'd tell everybody, I'm like, I'm gonna ride that bike someday. And you know, now, and honestly, like, that was influential to me, just having the interest. And I know it sounds dumb, but every time I got on my little BMX bike, like, every time I was like preparing to ride a motorcycle, like I'm like, all right, and when we ride the bike, we're gonna lean like this. Like, I didn't just like pedal my bike. Like, I was thinking about, you know, the more I think about it and the advancement they've had on like neuroscience, like that might have a lot to do. Like, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so didn't really see it firsthand. Rode a dirt bike maybe 3 or 4 times with a family that I grew up with, the Bianchi family up in central New York. It was a little PW80, the little automatic. And like, we built like a little jump, and I just getting like 2 feet of air and thinking I was super cool, and like literally just did like, I guess it's more like a little flat track with a jump on it. Flat track should have jumps. How have they not done that?
Mama Tried. Are y'all listen? Hey, Warren, come on.
Hey, that's what's up. But then from there, like, I had a pretty big hiatus from 2 wheels with a motor, and I was probably 19 or 20, and in college out in Iowa. And I had a buddy, Lucas Pick, and he's like, "Hey, don't you like motorcycles?" I'm like, "I love motorcycles," even though I hadn't been on one in like 15 years. And he had picked up like a Kawasaki, like a 70s Kawasaki,
Okay.
like 450 or I don't even know, 450, 500, like. And he asked me if I wanted to ride it, and like I had a manual car, so I understood like your throttle and your clutch.
Sure.
And I stalled it, and then I'm like, all right, little more throttle, little slower clutch. And then I just like, it just clicked, and I'm out on the road, just ripping through gears, just upshifting, downshifting, freaking just like I was always supposed to be there. And I think 5 days later, I found a 1981 Honda CB 400 T-Hawk, bought it for $450, poured a little seafoam in the fuel tank, shook it around, smoked out the garage, and then restored that bike. And it was a great first bike. I've got some really good stories. I rode that bike across, well, my ex-brother-in-law and I, we had to get my car and my bike out to central New York after I graduated. So we were taking shifts, and that bike is not made to go 75 on the highway. And we're just like pinned going 75, and I'm in a rainstorm, don't have the right gear. This is my first road trip ever.
Oh,
and
wow.
every time I'd go by a truck, you get hit by that blast of wind. Well, on that little Honda, I mean, it was like, whoa, and I'd like move like 6 feet, and I'm like having to lean into it, and I got pulled over by a state trooper because he's like, "You're going to die," and I'm like, "Really?" But yeah. So what did you guys start riding? How old were you? What were your first bikes? Like how did that get started?
Ryan, why don't you go there? You got a fun story around that.
Yeah. So, my parents divorced when I was really young, and I started riding as a passenger in Southern California. And so it's kind of funny because it came full circle for me, but the first bike that I was on was a 1985 FXRT right off the showroom floor.
Oh my goodness.
And but now keep in mind, this was a 1985 FXRT in Southern California when the bike was put out, and every single Harley rider gave you shit because you were riding a Japanese Harley. Right?
They hated them, right?
They hated them, yeah.
Isn't that so funny?
Yeah, and you could go to so the first thing so many of them did was they tore the fairings off and threw them in the trash can. Like some of the dealers took them off in the showroom floor and threw them out before they even sold the bike. So you could go behind a Harley dealer and there'd just be bins of FXRT fairings just in the trash can because nobody wanted them, right? And so, but that was the bike, and it was, and my mom's husband got it with the idea of touring, and so we actually had, he had a sidecar mounted to it, had it custom painted just like the bike, and so that was my like introduction to Harley Davidson. He had an older one. He had an older shovelhead that he rode for a long time, kickstart shovelhead that he rode for a long time, and then got this one. But we toured all over Southern California, did like toy runs and all that kind of stuff. And, this was kind of like the heyday of MC culture in Southern California too, right?
Oh, yeah,
Except the weird thing is that in the town that we lived in, the dealership was owned by NHA. So like when we went on bike runs, that's who we were on bike runs with. And I'm just a kid, like I don't know any different. And my mom, told me the story, and I didn't remember it, but she told me the story, and she was like, so we were in our tent, we were in this campground, and she said, "You see the guys with the patches on their vests?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "You just make sure you stay within where those guys are, and we're good." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so like I didn't know any different at all, right? And so even as an adult, like my mom told me that story, I had no memory of that actually like being a thing. And so, yeah, that was like how I grew up on motorcycles. And then I was away from them. I moved to North Dakota, my mom's husband he was one of those people that was, he was very highly educated, but wanted like his whole idea of being on a motorcycle and being a motorcycle was to be a tough guy because he wasn't a tough guy.
Yeah.
And so, but he ended up getting in trouble, and he went to prison. And my mom sent me to North Dakota to live with my dad. And so I came here, and I was off bikes for a really long time, and then found them again in my 30s. And it was funny because when I found them again, I had, Harley was what I knew, but I felt like I had to earn it. So I bought a Kawasaki first, and I did the whole Kawasaki cruiser thing for a while, and then I bought a Sportster, like all of us do.
My first Harley was a Sportster. Yep. I had an Ironhead.
Yeah, I had a Nightster is what I bought, and then Road King, and then ironically enough, here about 4 years ago, my buddy sends me a picture, and it's the same year, make, model, and paint scheme of the 1985 FXRT that I rode that I started on. And it was a barn find, and I bought it, and I just sold it just a little while ago because I had it for 4 years. I rode it twice and put it in my garage, and I never did anything with it. And so I was just like, you know what, somebody needs to love this bike more than me. And so I sold it, and I used that money and bought a 2026 Pan America Limited, and that will be delivered to my house in 5 days. So
he's not got a countdown going or anything.
Yeah.
He's not excited. He is not excited at all.
I have not been so excited to ride a motorcycle in a long time. And I do like distance riding and things like that. So I love riding. And I am so fucking pumped for this season. I can't even take it. So
okay, so you brought up the Pan America, and I had to I started to and then I was like, wait, I'm gonna save it for the show. The new concept bike.
Yeah.
Yo.
We saw him at Mama Tried. They were at Mama Tried.
If they don't do it, I'm going to sell all my Harleys and buy Indians or something. Or I'm going to go Buell. If that bike, everybody was really, they could have done the Bronx when they had the Bronx. If they would have done the Bronx instead of the Sportster S.
Or the Nightster.
Sportster S, kind of like a glorified V-Rod. But that Bronx, I think just because of the timing of Harley racing, and I think the market would have been ready for. I think it's proven because of the Pan America ST. Those bikes are killer. I know tons of guys that have bought that bike, and I wanted to build. I was just gonna pick up another Pan America and basically do. I'm pointing at my race bike. It's over my shoulder. But I was going to do this build as a street build, and maybe not go for the full carbon fiber fairing or rear fender with the tail kit and all that, but at least 17 front and rear wheels and put just sport it up a little bit and kind of cafe racer it. And I think that the XLCR, the XL Cafe Racer, the XLCR 1000. It's one of my favorite old Harleys. And especially with the racing, it might be the first Harley that was ever made with a true mid, or it might even actually be considered a rear set on that bike. They're back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a sportier position. They're cool bikes. They're very unique. They didn't copy anybody on them. It's a very unique tail on it. And I love those bikes. And so with that new Pan America, I imagine that if they drop that bike, I will buy one because I miss having a Pan America for the street.
Sure.
It's that was the hardest part of turning this into a race bike, was not riding it as a street bike anymore, because it's just such an incredible bike to ride. But
so Charlie, excited to hear, about the race bike, but how did we get to racing? And, I know you've had quite the journey even before you started racing. So tell us a little bit about your history and then how that evolved into running some laps.
Yeah. So I have a strong personality. I think anybody that knows me, I think they'd probably defend that. I just always kind of push it. And whether I was on the street all the way back to, man, honestly, I talk about that little Honda CB, that little 400. And with the T-Hawk, it was a little taller suspension. It was like a naked bike. It wasn't like the typical CBs that were like the cruiser. It looked more like the, what were they? Like the sportier, like F750 Sports or something like that. Like just a sportier. They were like little minis of that. Yeah. And I started figuring out how to corner. And like I'm sure I was still crossed up and like, but I was like, I'm like, motorcycles lean. Like if you want to go fast and you want to corner, like you just freaking tip that thing. And physics, as long as you're not going too slow, physics is on your side. If you can keep friction and momentum, you're good. So I started figuring that out and then got into riding Harleys, and I would, in 2019, I was kind of fresh out of a divorce, and I picked up an '07 Street Bob for like $3,600. It was pink. It had a Springer front end.
Okay.
It had 16-inch apes, and I didn't have a lot of money to put into this thing, and I'm like, man, I really want to be a Dynabro, but I've already got a Springer front end with 16-inch apes, and I didn't feel like chasing down a new front end, and so I just went with it, and I had forward controls on this thing and little like shotgun pipes, and
this sounds like an unrideable motorcycle.
Yeah,
it should have been, but man, I remember going to Sturgis. I took this thing to Sturgis, and the first time I met like Bobby Seeger from Indian Larry, like, cause he and I were going back and forth on Instagram for like a year, I think. And when my pops passed away in 2021, I guess, yeah, it was 2020 when I met Bobby. And I did 8-inch ride at Sturgis. So met Bobby and Sal and Frankie and Chris, and I think I met Billy G, just like a bunch of like the core Indian Larry Brooklyn guys. And I remember walking up, and I had this bike that I painted with vertical flames, and I had a big old candy red question mark, like a question everything logo on it. And I remember Sal looking at me, Sal Badfoot, and he saw that bike, and he's just like, who the fuck do you think you are? Painting that? I painted that bike like that, and went and just like hopped in line with them. But Bobby's always treated me like family, and so I had that bike ripping around Sturgis. Dude, I'm like grinding forward, like I'm like grinding the pegs on these forward controls, like just ripping through Sturgis, going, wait, that bike was so unsafe. Like it would just be just like doing this through corners, and I'm like,
fighting it.
I guess this is what riding a Harley is like. And I just thought it was normal. And yeah, so I don't know. I would push it on that bike, but then I picked up, and I bought like tons of these bikes from, I call him my adopted dad, but it's Mike Runke, but he lives in Midland, Odessa. Met him from being out there in the oil field. He's got a shop called Runke Extreme Cycles. I bought a bunch of bikes from him. I picked up,
so somebody did all those things to that Street Bob intentionally, is what you're trying to say?
It wasn't me. Someone else.
Disclaimer.
I have a great idea. I'm gonna make a Street Bob a Springer chopper, and
right. I'll ride a pink bike. Like I don't have a problem with that. Right.
I should have. I should have just turned it into a stinking Dynabro bike and left the pink paint job.
Yeah,
like that would have been significantly more cool.
Yeah, but absolutely. Right. For sure. I mean,
it was like the most unrideable Dyna that, and I can't even say this. I got a buddy that bought it. He loves it. He's a little taller than me. It's got the forward controls, and he loves that bike. But man, like now, after the next bike, I picked up 2017. It was a Lowrider S, the Dyna FX DLS. So last year, the Dyna. Yeah. I kind of think of it as like the Dyna of Dynas. And I did a 117 kit.
Okay.
Never even touched the suspension, which it's not that good from the factory. Like, it's not that bad, but it's like the emulsion rear Harley shocks. It's like, they're not that great. It sits maybe like half an inch higher than a stock Street Bob or something. But that was the bike and riding up in Arkansas that I just started to figure out that I was a little faster than the average guy on a bike. Or maybe I'm just stupider. I don't know. Like, I don't. Maybe
both.
As I look over at the helmet that I wrecked at Laguna Seca, it's like I've got it kind of as like a display piece on my kitchen counter, the one that I wrecked where I spun on my head. But so it's probably stupider, actually. But riding in Arkansas, you know, I got family out in like it's west of Little Rock, and they're like right at the southeast corner of the really good part of the state. So you got like Northwest Arkansas, and there's a bunch of those. Well, yeah, Luke, I don't know. Have you been? You've been down there, right?
Yep.
Like you got the Pig Trail.
Yep.
You got 23 down there, Highway 7. But I was just ripping up and down 7, 23, and man, going way faster than I should have been going in some of those corners. And man, there's a lot of farming up there. Like, it's not. You need to be respectful and know, like, you can ride hard out there without overdoing it.
Sure.
But yeah, so that was where I started kind of pushing it harder. And then I sold. No, then my pops passed away. And so the thing that really, Trevor, Bulletproof Welder, he was out there at Chuckwalla. And yeah, so he was doing a track day out on the Gold Dyna at Chuck. That one of those first Harley track days where, so it was like him, Hard Rider Frank from Queens. I think Frank was out there on a Dyna, if I remember right. But it was just like a bunch of the early track Harley guys. Before King of the Baggers, like there was like Tony Salima and Eric Stahl, Joker. Like those were like some of the early Harley track guys, like the OGs.
Gotcha.
And all at Chuckwalla, all the like just a bunch of SoCal guys. And they're on Dynas, FXRs. And then Brandon Quaid and Quaid Harley Davidson got into it. And then that just roped in a bunch of the local boys. Like Lenny came out, Youngblood Clay, Ravi Patel with Savage Powerhouse. You had Michael Smith out there, freaking Josh Nichols, like my buddy Devin was out there. And it was just a bunch of dudes that they at least had canyons to ride. You know, I'd get to ride Arkansas twisties like twice a year. But
yeah,
man, but they were just a really good group that came out of there. I know I'm forgetting some guys. I mean, Ian passed away a few years ago in a bike accident. But yeah, just some really good guys. Like that's like my little family out there. Okay. And only a few guys are still out there riding, like on the track. Like Clay still gets out there. But I was watching, my dad was in the hospital there in Arkansas, and he had pancreatic cancer. And it went from like I'm glad that I made the decision. I drove out and I was just going to take him to chemo because my sisters were taking him and they've got kids. And I'm like, I'll come out. Sure. I'll take Dad. Like, you guys have been pulling a lot of the weight, and I'm just out there in West Texas just doing my thing. So I drove, 10 hours hanging out with Pops, and then we go in for chemo, and they're like, oh, these levels aren't right. This isn't right. That's not right. And, and we were really fortunate because, like, pancreatic cancer, typically when they catch it, it's stage 4. It's symptomless until it's not. And gotcha. When it isn't, or when it is,
it's too late. Yeah,
it's you're gone. You might have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If you might have 2 months if you're lucky. And it was a fluke that they caught it stage 1. So my dad was able to do some chemo and hang around for an extra year and a half, 2 years from when they first caught it, which like honestly was a little bit of a miracle. So over the course of 3 weeks, I was kind of leaning into distracting myself with some Instagram. And like I said, Trevor and all those guys were out at the track, and I'm showing my dad. And I'm like, yo, Dad, these guys, and I acted like they were like all my friends. Like Trevor would just talk shit to me on Instagram. He'd be like, oh, Charlie, you think you're all fast? Okay, Charlie. And he's like, just talking shit like Trevor always would. And I showed my dad, and my dad was not impressed. My dad's like, guys are racing hard. Why? he's just like, I'm like, Dad, I'm gonna do it, Dad. I'm gonna put a Harley on the track. And my dad, like dying of cancer, just goes, okay, Chuck. I was like, well, I'm gonna fucking do it now. Like now I'm actually gonna. So that was a big part of my inspiration, was just a curiosity, seeing some of those guys out there doing that, having the idea that I might be a little faster than the average guy. And then it was the last thing I told my father I was going to do before he passed away.
Okay.
And I often joke, I wish I had said, hey, Dad, I'm going to be a millionaire. That would have been a lot smarter.
Yeah.
But I did the opposite. And I did the thing that has just been funneling money out of my bank account.
The stupider.
Hey, so dumb. Like, I couldn't. I don't know you could pick a dumber thing to do than race Harleys, but it has changed my life.
That's what they say, right?
I've been places, met people, done things. Like if somebody would have told me, like 8-year-old little Charlie on his BMX bike, bro, you're going to crash on TV. You're going to spin on your head in Rainy Corner at Laguna Seca. You're going to lose second place to the B-main of Super Hooligan because you dragged your primary. Like, I never would have believed any of that. And, you know, just the people that I have in my contacts, just like some of the most knowledgeable people in the industry. So that was kind of what got me there.
Sure.
That got me in the door to the racing, was just telling my dad that I was going to do that. And so my race number was always 104. My dad's birthday was October 4th. So I was 10-4. I changed it last season on the Pan America to 316. I am a Christian, and I kind of feel like, I guess I kind of retired 104. I feel like, you know, I didn't win any championships. I got on a podium. I got 3rd overall in the air-cooled challenge in Super Hooligan in 2023, and I'm really proud of that. I did some really stupid stuff to get the points necessary to get 3rd overall because I almost lost it. I think I had a really big crash at the Ridge, and Red the mechanic, he's the master mechanic at Quaid Harley Davidson. Red is a freaking magician. Like, and Brandon Quaid was out there, Michael Smith, Dylan Wall was out on a Pan America. Joe Gale was out there. Just, I think, was that everybody that we had on the air cools? I think it was at the Ridge. And just some of the coolest dudes that you will ever meet. Everybody just helping everybody else, just jazzing each other up, supporting each other, just like true family stuff. Red gets my bike thrown back together after like the biggest crash I've ever had. It was kind of on film, not really. Like you see where I just kind of, I had like I think I rolled for about 65 or 70 yards.
Jesus.
And you just see the dust cloud. And it was like Tyler O'Hara and Jeremy McWilliams, because they were lapping me. I'm like, I think we had like 2 more laps in the race. And so they're lapping me. And behind them, you can see me through turn 6. Just this, I mean, literally just a dust cloud of me just freaking flailing and rolling. And I came out and raced the next day. I was banged up.
I was going to ask, how bad did that hurt you?
And I was just finish the race. I was 5 seconds slower per lap. I mean, I was just this. I knew if I finished, I would get points.
Okay.
So I finished the race. I got the points that I needed, and I think that had me 1 point ahead of Michael Smith in 3rd place. So if I hadn't done that and gone back out, which Eric Stahl, I owe it to Eric Stahl, which is Jiffy Tune. I don't know. He was one of the original bagger guys. He was on like the yellow school bus bagger. He was like sponsored by Lindell. He's got a performance shop down in Elsinore, California.
Okay.
So he builds bikes, dynos. But I was thinking about not riding that Sunday, and Eric walks up and he kind of overheard the conversation. He's like, "Why are you here?" I'm like, "Points?" And he's like, "How are you gonna get points if you puss out tomorrow?" And I'm like, okay. And I mean, it takes a lot to go back out and try and push a bike that you wrecked that hard. Like a little low side where you slide, like you can go pick your bike up and jump right back on. It's nothing.
Sure.
But when you have big offs, like when you high side, when you tumble like that, it's a lot.
How bad were you injured in that wreck?
I was very, very bruised. I didn't break anything.
Wow. Okay.
But like my knees on inside and outside, like it looked like somebody took about 2 hours of just hitting me with a baseball bat. Like I had both of my knees were bruised just because my legs were doing this.
Sure.
As I was just, I started to roll and my arms were out and I could feel my shoulders going, and I like fought and I kind of got my arms in, which I think made me spin faster because I brought them in too tight. You're really supposed to kind of make a cage, so that you don't go, if you think about like a figure skater, they spin because they bring everything in.
Right,
I mean, it's like,
sure.
And I just sped up my rotations and probably contributed to my 70 yards of rolling. But yeah, I mean, I was sore, and then you get done and you pack up, and then I had to drive back to Southern California. And at that time, I mean, I'm transport, I'm logistics.
You're everything, right?
I'm everything. I'm freaking admin, making sure I got all the right paperwork. I'm out there. And I mean, the one thing, like I said, I had Red and Quade Harley-Davidson supporting me when I was there actually in the pits on the track. Like we're just tight-knit little family. But I mean, which that's a huge help. But it takes a lot. There's so much that goes into a weekend of racing. For one, it works out to about $5,000 a weekend if you're doing it on a budget. Like that's like you're eating like turkey sandwiches, sleeping in your truck, or like sleeping in somebody's trailer.
Sure.
But just like from the prepping to the time you get there, race, and you get back, you're probably going to drop about $5,000. So
wow.
Not cheap. Like I said, should have told Dad I was going to be a millionaire. That would have been, yeah.
Would have made that race a lot easier. Become a millionaire, and then go race. Race, right? Yeah.
I got the order wrong.
That's right.
So, yeah. So that's really how I got into it, and some of the family that I met along the way. Working for Lindell made it possible for me to race, but also made it really difficult because I didn't make a lot of money.
Gotcha.
It was I was traveling. I was kind of their only outside salesman in 2022 and 23. And I did some BRL races. I did some BRL at the end of 21. I did really, the way I got licensed, I did a track day with the Texas Track Days and like Ride Smart. And so that was like Connor, FXDB. He was a Texas guy.
Yeah.
I love Connor. Connor is a marketing genius. Connor went from like Dynabro to track Harley guy
to fashion cowboy.
Yeah.
He had some gun. No, he threw some gun stuff in there first. And then he kind of went like, Ariat or whatever. He went fashion cowboy.
Yeah.
And then he landed some chick, and I think he's like happily married or something, and you like don't hear from him anymore. But he's still just like reaping the benefits of his genius social media marketing. Like, but he's a big part of what got me on the track in the first place. Because I'm in Texas. I saw him. He had the Lindell affiliation, and they were just kind of popping up on Instagram, and I reached out to him. My first track day, Cody Melton was there, Connor was there, Steve Chamberlain.
I was going to ask if you raced with Steve at all. So
Steve and I have never actually raced on the same track at the same time, but we've been at multiple races.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, when I was racing that season that he and I were both out there, I didn't have enough money to do more than one class in BRL.
Okay.
Because, man, now that I think back, I wish I would have just done more of the unlimited class where it's baggers, it's water cool. It was just a grab bag. And like now I would definitely sign up for some of that, especially on my Pan America, because that thing's a weapon. So
heck yeah.
Yeah. That's a fun. Totally different animal than the 21 Softail. But my Softail made good power. 3-state Harley Davidson, Tony Pony's a master mechanic over there. Ronnie, I cannot remember Ron's last name, is the owner. Ron owns like 112 Harley Davidsons.
Holy shit.
He has his own museum of motorcycles. But 3-state Harley over in Bossier City, Louisiana. So they helped me a lot in that 23 season.
Okay.
They built my motor, threw some parts at me, supported me along the way.
Nice.
But like my 128 kit made 146 horsepower and 155 foot-pounds of torque. So I mean, it's saucy.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That was literally what was holding me back in 22 is I didn't have horsepower. So like I was pretty quick in corners, but then dudes would just pull away from me on straights. Sure. And it's like you can. I mean, yes, like you're fast in the corners, but I mean, if you don't have the power in the straightaway, you're just giving ground up.
Yeah.
And so you gotta have. I mean, you gotta be somewhere, within like 5 to 10% of that power range, probably 5% or somewhere close. But yeah. So that's and now that Softail's my road bike.
Oh, really?
My top end, dude. That Softail has more done to it now. Like I've got Lindell brakes all around. TTI. TTI has been sponsoring me since day one, since my very first Texas track day. Oscar and that group, which they're heavily affiliated with Lindell, but Oscar's a good friend of mine. They're out of Round Rock.
Okay.
They kind of had that the MK1 pegs. I love them. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they've got like the ride height adjust. You can roll them forward, roll them back. I think
I've seen those, yeah.
Lift them up, roll them down. It's genius. I mean, it's very, very adjustable. And man, I've ground those things down to just like tiny little nubs. And I have one on top of my toolbox that I keep telling Oscar I'm going to take it to Round Rock with me and give it to him. I keep forgetting, but yeah, that I don't remember why I brought him up, but man, he's a great guy. So yeah, but TTI, they were there from the beginning. Oh yeah, so the bike now that's what it was. Like, so yeah, I got the big Lindell rotors, I got the Brembos, I've got the TTI Softail radial mount lowers. Like, absolute just works of art. Like, and actual, when you use a bracket on a radial mount caliper, you're technically still axial mounted.
Okay.
Because it's a bracket. And so there's still flex, and it's like, so until you actually have a lower that's designed for a radial mount, like you're not getting all the benefits of the radial mount calipers. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
not that I'm saying that everybody needs to spend, like $5,000 on like a Krauss inverted front end
Sure.
so that you can have that. You could. It's an option.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. But yeah, the street bike's pretty rowdy. I just need to paint it and figure out the tick in the front cylinder.
I love
I got
that
something ticking in the top end. It's been there for 2 years.
I love
I've
that
been
you're
through,
still.
everything.
I love that you're still riding that race bike, just like Chamberlain's still riding his race bike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Taco Man.
Steve is my he's like my unicorn. He's like my spirit animal. He's like
he's
my
so
Mr.
funny.
Miyagi. I don't even know, but I just want to be like Steve. He's just
Everybody wants to be like Steve, man. Life of the party,
Yeah,
man. He's so good.
he's just the big ginger. He's got just
The big Viking, man.
he's just,
Yeah.
Dude rips. He's like, like we need more Steves in the motorcycle industry. Just good dudes.
And he's such a good fabricator and great bike builder. And I can't wait to see what he does with that big boy FXR he's building. I can't wait to see.
I can't wait.
See, I'm gonna try to get down there this weekend.
He will probably
and see
be
it.
mad at me for saying this. Steve, at one point in that first year of racing, like I did not have money, and Steve just is like, "Hey, I'm sending you $400." I'm like, "Don't." And he's like, "I'm sending you $400. Do you need it?" I'm like, I don't have money to make my bike payment. And he's like, "I'm sending you $400. So the dude just sends me $400 so I can make my bike payment. I would have missed a month on my bike payment if Steve didn't send it. And then I went and raced like 3 days later after that. But I would not have been able to do any of that.
Sure.
Like Steve is just, and he was probably going to be mad at me for sharing that story, but that's just like Steve is just that type of a guy. Like he's a good dude, just big heart. Yeah.
Solid dude.
Yeah, that FXR is going to be nasty. I'm excited to see that. There's if we're going to talk about FXRs, Ryan Millhouse. That FXR that he built,
Looks
the chrome
good.
frame, the chrome everything, and then that purple and that sky blue. I mean, it's just that bike is perfect. Like, I'm just going to say it.
It's a beautiful bike.
Yeah. Cannot. And I got to see sneak peeks of it before he started posting stuff, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's pretty.
Looking up Millhouse's bike, but did you see I thought it was My Machinist, but it's not. Did you see that road glide that has the entire front end is fabricated, including the headlight nacelle? And so when you turn the front end,
That's My Machinist, Justin. That's his.
Is that Justin's bike?
Yep, he got that. He's a Harley sponsored bike, and then he's building that out.
The front nacelle turns.
Yep.
The fairing stays in its spot, but the nacelle turns to follow the front end of the bike.
Yeah, the headlight moves with it. It's wild.
That's insane.
I haven't seen this. I love Justin.
Yeah, look
My
up,
Machinist, Justin's bike. Yeah.
Look up.
What's this build? Is it a Born Free build?
I don't know if he's doing that for Born Free. It might be. He got a road glide like Jace did from Harley this year, and so he's put that's part of the. He's going all out on it. So yeah.
Okay.
So he's completely fabricated an entire front end on it, and he built a custom headlight nacelle. And like when he showed it on Instagram, it was like the fairing was on the bike, the fairing's not moving, the bike's not moving, but he turns the handlebars and the whole headlight nacelle turns to follow the front end of the bike, but the fairing doesn't move. And you're like,
I gotta look this up.
What all reality is this?
What was the old 50s model car that did that? Well, the headlights were in the bumper and the bumper moved, or maybe it was just the headlights moved by themselves. Oh, I can't
I
think
don't
of
remember.
it. I can't remember. But yeah, he built.
Oh, that is so dope.
Isn't
that
it?
sick?
That is sick. He's just utilizing. So, I mean, kudos to Harley. You know, like the new designs on the Street Glide and the Road Glide. Like they kept that Road Glide look, but changed it and made it like it's cool. They did a good job. Do you guys remember when Road Glides were? Can I say the G word? They were gay. Remember? Like it used to be like everybody was like, "Oh man, I got my Street Glide. Oh yeah, I got a big 110 in my Street Glide." And everybody that was on a Road Glide, they were like, "Oh, you got a fixed fairing?" Like, oh.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know what year it was, but just one day everybody woke up and they're like, "I think Road Glide should be doing wheelies." Like,
Yeah, I feel like you definitely see a lot more folks buying Road Glides than you do Street Glides, and I'm a Street Glide guy.
yeah. And
I mean,
I think it'll swing back. I
yeah.
really do. I think I don't know how long it takes. I'm sure you could go back and kind of study like the actual like sales cycle of those different models. But I mean, who is it? Is it like one wheel Rob or Rob Evolution, or that's on like a newer Street Glide?
I haven't
Like
seen
the
them.
new street, like the 25 Street Glide doing wheelies on it. But I mean, other than that, I mean, anybody on a performance Harley is pretty much on a Road Glide.
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, the timeline was when they took the Street Glide, they took all the bags off it except for the saddlebags. So prior to that, the Street Glide always had like the top case on it, right? And so when they took all of that off it, they made it more of a young man's bike.
Yeah,
and then they blacked them out, right? They black paint, black engine, black everything, because then it quickly became the Me Too bike, right? You went to Sturgis and it was like black Street Glide, black Street Glide, black Street Glide, black Street Glide, black Street Glide.
Yeah.
And it was just as far as you could see, there was black Street Glides, and you'd walk into a dealer and they'd have 40 black Street Glides, and then they'd have like 3 Road Glides and then 3 Street Glides of a different color. But they made them a young man's bike. That's what they did.
I think you're right. I think
because they when you saw that Batwing fairing, you just thought of an old graybeard, right? And then when they made
it was
him,
hell yeah, brother.
yeah,
Like,
when they made him sinister,
meat hooks
when they made him sinister is when they kind of made him a young man's bike, because the first ones I saw that really drew my attention were the ones that were completely black and they had chrome wheels on them. And I was like, oh shit, because that reminded me of because when I was in high school, I had a Malibu, like a 78 Malibu, and it was all black with red pinstripes and chrome wheels. And so that's the first thing I thought about when I saw that Street Glide, is I was like, that's a hot rod is what that is, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when they change it, and that would have been to me like the mid 2000s probably. And in the because and really to me the Shark Nose or the Road Glide got popular again when they went from 2 headlights to 1. And once they changed it to a 1 headlight, because the 2 headlights have a real alien look to it. It looked a lot like a Victory or something. It just didn't really
like
feel
a boat.
Yeah,
they look
exactly.
like
It looked like a boat. Yeah.
I'm being serious. Like it has like a, and I love those bikes. Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
like,
I
you can
do
get
too.
like an old 05 stinking Road Glide. Like there's some cool, especially some of the like the Screaming Eagle paint schemes. Like Scott, I'm not even gonna try and say his last name, but he's out of Buffalo with like A1 Cycle, A1 Performance.
Yeah.
That's been very involved in the racing with BRL. Like he's got like an 04. It's like that orange pearl, black and white Road Glide with like the eagle on it and everything. Like they're nasty looking bikes. Like they're so dope. Like they're awesome bikes.
To me, the alien fairing really makes a really nice looking skinny tire bagger. Is what if you do them like that, I think they still look really cool even today. But that's like kind of like my timeline. But Charlie, you said something earlier that so Luke and I have talked about this and said, hey, we avoid all of these topics.
Oh, awesome.
Is typically what we do. But you brought something up, and it's in your Instagram. It's like right after your name, it leads Instagram, right after your name and your Instagram handle, and you said, I'm a Christian, right?
Yes,
and right in your so was there were you born and raised a Christian? Were you raised that way your whole life, or did you have like something that happened that changed you, or just kind of give me the story, because Luke and I kind of decided, hey, there's going to be things that we don't talk about, but yet we found we found that sometimes the things that people don't want to talk about are the things that we want to talk about. So we do it.
That's So I'm known for that.
I want to. So I mean, you said it. You brought it up, right? So
I'm more than willing. Yeah. I mean,
I just want to
change my race number. So
and you changed your race number. So John 3:16. I got it. Yep. I got the reference, right? I'm Christian also. In fact, I was raised Catholic, and cool. And then I changed when my wife and I got married. But my dad and I used to wear St. Christopher's medals, and I actually had. When he passed away, my mom gave me his chain and his medal and mine. And I went on this bike trip, and my dad loved the Badlands of South Dakota. And I was actually in South Dakota. I had it in my hand, and I was going to throw it out in the Badlands as kind of a tribute to my dad. And my buddy was with me, and he asked me a question pretty much right when I was going to throw it. And he said, the last time I was here was when my grandpa passed away. And I was like, and we were on this trip right after my dad had passed away. And I kind of hung on to it, and I put it in my pocket. And I realized that. So I went home, and I went to a local artist here in town, and I had my St. Christopher's medal melted and his melted and the chains and everything. And I had it made into a cross pendant that I have his initial stamp. So it's it's a local artist, and it's a one of one. And so he's like,
nice.
he's like, what do you?
So many layers of like the sentimental value of that. Like,
he said, what do you want? And I said, I ride motorcycle. I said, first of all, I want it to be heavy, so when I'm wearing it, I feel it. And I said, and I want it to be something that it looks like I've already been wearing it for like 50 years. It needs to be worn. And he made it like hand hammered. So there's like hammer marks in it, and it's tarnished, but it's all gold and silver. And it's really heavy because it's, made out of like 2 gold chains and 2 pendants. And I wear it all the time. And so I want to hear your kind of your journey and how faith found you and kind of where that stands with you.
Yeah, man. So I didn't start Catholic. I started Lutheran.
Yep.
Which like isn't
too like Catholic far. Light. It's like Catholic Light.
Yeah.
That's what I call. I started Catholic and went Lutheran, so it's Catholic Light.
Yeah. So it's it's like the Bush Light instead of just the Bush.
Right.
But
whoa, wait a minute. Maybe not a great reference.
You'll be here all night, folks.
Now we're talking 70s. So I grew up going to church, and there was just this, like, we were just like the good little church family. I used to like wear little suits. I'd match my dad. We'd have matching ties. We'd like roll into church on Sunday morning, and always went to church. And it's really weird because like I don't remember at any point in my life not believing that Jesus is the Son of God and that he is my Lord and Savior. Because everybody's like, oh, like, did you say the prayer? And I'm like, oh gosh, no, right. I haven't said the prayer. And I think that the prayer can represent something, but I don't think that salvation is magically found in saying some prayer. Like it's what you believe in your heart. And so I was just raised going to church, and I was very sheltered and naive, and went to public school. And then about, I think, 7th grade over the summer, my mom was like, my mom had homeschooled one of my sisters because she's a kinesthetic learner, like very hands-on,
Yep.
not a kindergarten teacher's like ideal student, because she's like, for my brain to get this, I need to just kind of,
Right.
I got to be over here and I got to be over there and I got to touch it and do this and do that and that. And so she just had a really hard time. And so my mom's like, I'm taking care of my baby. And so she homeschooled her, and she's like, all right, kids, this went great. And I have 4 sisters. There were 5 of us. And I don't think my mom is very good at math, but she decided to not do that calculation of homeschool 1 child, this went great. Homeschool 5 children, and the world is chaos. And, but it was, my sisters and I did not get along going into homeschooling. This will make sense to answer your question about. So after like 2 years of homeschooling, my sisters and I have the closest relationship. I mean, we're very close, and it's because we were homeschooled. And I think that we would have gone very different paths, but I was surrounded by other Christians in the homeschooling community.
Sure.
And that had a big influence on me just through my teenage years, because there's just a lot of things that I didn't get exposed to that I would have gotten exposed to. And I started to get exposed to when I was in the public schools and even in middle school in Central New York at Weed Sport, New York. So I actually started I started getting involved in youth ministry when I was 16, and I was a student leader, and I was volunteering and involved in Bible studies and worship nights and outreaches and all these different things, and then ended up going to Lake Geneva Youth Camp in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. They're south of Milwaukee.
Yep.
For my summers. And I'm like a classic jack of all trades, master of none, which churches love those guys because they pay you like $15 like every 3 months. And they give you like 16 different jobs. And they're like, oh man, this guy is great.
Right.
And I loved working at Lake Geneva Youth Camp, and I loved being able to serve that ministry. And but then from there, I got connected to a Bible college, and I actually have a degree in the Bible, and I have a degree in youth ministry. And that's what got me to Texas.
So you have a theology degree?
Technically, yes. It's really, it's like, I didn't go to seminary.
Okay.
It was just it's a bachelor's degree in the Bible. So like, I guess technically it would be a theology degree.
Okay.
And that's served me tremendously over the course of my life. I mean, I've been, at this point, my Christianity affects every day of my life. And it might be something as simple as, if I see a door I can hold for someone, because Jesus said that greatness is serving. And he says that he did not come to this earth to be served, but to serve and to give his life so that we can have eternal life. And so it might just be like, I pick up trash, or I hold a door for somebody.
Sure.
Or I met, and I hate even talking about stuff like this, but like I met a random homeless guy here in Dallas, and he was kind of hungry, and I had these little workout honey wafers, and they're delicious. And I was like, hey, bro, you want some sweet wafery things? And he's like, oh my gosh, yes. And I was like, Noah, Jesus loves you, man. Like, and there's just what I have seen in my life is that the closer that I am to Jesus, the more that I'm living in obedience to him, and I'm in the Word, and I'm trying to be a servant of the people that I'm in contact with, the better my life is. And it's not about me getting, it's like, oh, well, if I put a penny in the machine, I get a dime back. That's not the point of it, but I think that is very often a byproduct. And that doesn't mean my life is easy. I was just talking about my dad dying when he was 67. That hurt. That sucked. I know a lot of people have anger towards God because of things like that, but it was just, I'm sitting here talking to you guys today because my dad passed away when he was 67. And I told him the last thing I was going to do was race Harleys. And I've been doing that for the last few years. And I got in the motorcycle industry, and here we are. And now I'm talking about Jesus on a podcast. It's like, the world is a mysterious thing.
Right. Well, and I asked you that specifically because, you know, my wife and I got married in the same church that she was born in, baptized in, confirmed in. You know, we got married in that church. Our children were baptized in that church. And then when the world got turned upside down with COVID, since then, my feeling is, and this is my feeling, and I don't want to speak for you or anybody else, so I'm just speaking for myself, is that I felt like Christianity became a weapon, and I feel like it got very politicized, and in my opinion, many negative ways. And I think that people have hidden like really like bad human agenda behind what they like to call conservative Christian, you know, behavior. And it's not, like you said, it's not rooted in anything that is supported by, you know, anything that's in the Bible. Right. Yeah. I mean, and so, and I don't want our podcast to turn into that. So I don't want to get too far into the rabbit hole, but I applaud you, and I appreciate your willingness to be open about it. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you put it out there. I certainly will talk to anybody about my journey and my whatever, but I'm also not a great evangelist, if that makes sense. Yeah, I will have conversations, and I feel a certain way about things, but I'm not trying to force my beliefs or my feelings or whatever on anyone else.
Yeah.
Because I think because I have found it for me to be a very extraordinarily personal journey, right? And it has many different ebbs and flows. And my my sister actually is I admire her a lot because she was on the genius level spectrum, and she went to college to be an engineer, and she scored a perfect 36 on her ACT, and she was the smartest person in every room that she'd ever been in her whole life. Smarter than most, you know, doctors that I know, smarter than a lot of people. And she was sitting in a chemistry class in college, because if you ask her this question, this is what she'll tell you. She was sitting in a chemistry class in college, and she was looking at the periodic table, and she said, I found God in the periodic table. And I said, explain that to me. And she said, because it's perfect. She said, the periodic table is perfect. And she said, and it can't be random because it's perfect.
The order. Yeah. So I'm a science nerd. So I'm not on the genius spectrum. I'd be on the spectrum, but
so the point of that is that
keep going.
She was in a room with that's why you were talking about your theology degree. She was in a room with some pastors and some priests, and they were having some very serious theological discussions, and it started to waver away from what she called like, you know, biblical reality. Right. So they started having conversations about things that aren't supported in the Bible. And she put her Bible on the table, and she slid it to the middle of of the table with one finger, and she held her finger on it. And they all stopped talking and just looked at her. And she said, if it's not in here, I don't believe that it's real. To all of these different, you know, like Catholic priests and, you know, Lutheran ministers and all these different, she said, because this is the Word, and the Word is God. And then she picked up her Bible and she walked away. And I was like, holy smokes. I'm like, you did that?
That's gangster stuff, man.
Yeah,
that's
right. Mm-hmm. And it's because their conversations were, you know, kind of drifting away from, you know, it started to drift to things that were not supported by text and not supported by, you know, things that we believe in. And so anyway, I thank you for being willing to share that little part, for putting it out there, because it's not popular right now. And certainly
it's just there are a lot of times in history where it just hasn't been popular. And,
right. Well,
you know,
and
really,
right now, I feel like it's being used as a weapon in such a like such a negative way that
it's so politically weaponized.
Yeah.
And you know, we could have a whole nother conversation.
Oh,
Shoot,
yeah.
we've been going for an hour and 12 minutes. You want to start talking about conspiracy theories and
right.
what's going on between left, right, and Epstein files.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Left, right, and the Epstein files.
There's stuff going on. Like,
right.
I'm going to say this one thing. Okay. So Christianity is absolutely being weaponized. I think that there's a lot more room for humility in biblical and conversations about faith. I think as a Christian, if you're not asking questions and trying to understand, I think you're missing a lot. Like Jesus asked tons of questions. He'd set people up, but he'd ask questions, and he'd use parables, but he would ask questions and use parables, and then he'd throw a zinger at somebody. And then you also have the left and the right. And let's hear my little political comment now. It's all designed to keep us pointing at each other.
Right.
And to distract us from what's actually happening in the world and the corruption of the government. There are too many of us. If we all were to unite, like, there's millions of us, okay? There are millions of Americans. And I think it was like 100 and... I think it was for a conversation I was having, like, a statistic I just saw. There's like 195 million white males in America. So that's just Caucasians. I mean, so if there was uniformity, and if men were just, man, you're going to get me, if men would just be men and actually, so like, you're saying, you know, you're giving me kudos for speaking up about my faith. I'm not here to be popular. I'm 41 years old. I'm going to be honest with you. I love to have friends. I want to have people. I don't give a shit if someone likes me. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to try and show the love of Jesus to people. If that offends you, or if you don't like that I have this faith, that's fine. I'm also not everybody's cup of tea, because I'm a pretty unique person, and I got a big personality, and I understand that not everybody's going to like that. But I'm not on this earth to try and just get everyone to like me, because that was me as a kid. Sure. I was so consumed with being liked that I didn't even know who I was. And motorcycles and this community and racing and my faith, all these things came together and helped me find me.
Well, and Luke and I have
love
talked...
me. I love who I am. I got a good life. I got good people in my life. I got really good people in my life.
Luke and I have talked about how you need to really, if you don't open the door to someone else's thought process, way of thinking, that kind of stuff, all you're doing is surrounding yourself with people that support your own ideals, and you're never in a position
you're
to
never going to evolve
or to grow or evolve. Yeah, you know, Luke has kind of said that a lot, right? If you want to grow and evolve as a person, you need to have some of those tough conversations with people who have ideals that are not yours, who
listen to understand, not to respond.
Exactly. Listen to understand and not to respond. And
absolutely. Yeah. Which is
and
lost art. I mean, goodness.
But that goes back to
in so many different contexts too, right?
In every
But it goes back to humility, like you said.
Cards. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right. It goes back to humility, like you said, because you have to be willing to. You have to be willing to listen to somebody else's viewpoint and accept that maybe they think differently than you do, but hear them out in a way that you're open to what they're telling you. So that you're malleable to that information and you don't automatically dismiss it or shut it off or close it down.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's so many lessons in life to be learned from that, even outside of faith, outside of politics, right? And but when you said that it keeps us all pointing at each other, right? You can go throughout history and look at different points in time in history and different cultures, and that's what happens, right?
It's about the distraction, man.
Throughout history, it's happened in every it's happened in every society, and so we're just at this really interesting tipping point, because I think we have, there's been no greater time in history where we have instant access to as many ideas and sources of information than right now. Right. I mean, I heard a statistic the other day that said every 7 days, more photographs are taken than from the time that photography was invented.
Oh my gosh.
So if you think about that in terms of, the information overload, every 7 days we double the amount of photographs taken than from the time they were invented. And so that's just photographs.
Just like,
right, exactly. So think about that in just terms of information, right? So we're flooding the world with all of this, and now we have to disseminate, when you read something, whether that is factual information, whether it's true, whether it's a truly put out there as a lie to be made to be believable, right? Yep. And then now we have AI that's creating, completely creating things that aren't real at all, right? So it's like, and what is your journey in digital media, and how mature are you in the digital media realm? Like, I've been told this before, that younger generations are actually more mature in digital media than we are, because they've grown up with it, right?
Yeah.
My age group, we invented it all, but we're not masters of it, right? And then like every subsequent generation, they have mastered more and more and more of it. Like, so when I was in high school, we were still forced to take typing classes, and the ones and zeros classes where you made a program and you created a sailboat, right?
Yeah,
and now, right, and now
playing Oregon Trail too,
right? Playing Oregon Trail, right? And now there are computer programming classes in high schools where they're designing apps and video games, and they're in high schools because they're not teaching them.
Kids, there's 10-year-olds writing code, making their own games.
Right.
There's not, like, it's insane. Right. Like, that's just like how you and I used to go out, we'd go play catch. Kids are writing code now. Like, and they can't catch a ball to save their lives.
But but that's also why they've said that, drones became so prolific in the military, because of the eye-hand coordination of the people running the drones, where my generation, we're more likely to, Luke and I have talked about that, right? When we were kids and you got into an argument with another guy and it got physical, you went outside and you had your confrontation, and then you were best friends, and you came back inside and you got a soda and you went and sat on the curb and laughed about how, I gave you a black eye, and then the other guy's like, yeah, but I busted open your lip, right?
Yeah.
And nowadays, that same conversation, if you said to somebody, hey, let's go outside and take care of this, they're like, I'm calling the cops right now. You're threatening my, whatever. And I'm like, dude, that's how we handled shit back in the day, And so it's an interesting thing.
Well, I mean, we even did a whole episode on parenting in the digital age because of that. Like, it was a topic worth covering, and it's added such a layer. I've had this conversation with my parents, like raising me versus me raising my daughter now. It's like, it's a whole nother layer of things to figure out. It's crazy.
Luke and I said that we had to have that conversation with our daughters about their what's called their digital profile, right? Because everything that they put on the internet is now there forever now, and you have to tell your kids that, like, so you're going to be a well, let's just say like a youth minister like you, but you spent your entire teenage years making TikTok videos shaking your ass. Okay, is that, how do you explain that then to your youth ministry kids? Well, you're going to have a good explanation for it, or, show some maturity and some growth, or you're going to have to own it, whatever it is, right? It's there forever. It doesn't go away. So, I mean, and I'm not saying that that's the kind of videos my daughters put out, because I don't believe that they do, but,
my daughter does not. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. We got a little technical difficulty, and we're over an hour in, so I want to thank Charlie, although I don't think he can hear us. But I want to thank him for coming on the show. We'll definitely have him back on because there's plenty more to cover. But don't forget to like and subscribe, and tune in next Monday for our next show. And until then, hope you guys have a great week.
Peace.